All right.
Perfect.
So I'm going to give you a short presentation about Ethereum 2, the highly anticipated sequel, and its potential impact on the DeFi ecosystem. So thanks, Christophe and the rest of the team for inviting me to this event. If you want to reach out to me, here's my social handle on most social media at Jerome de Tychey. And you can also email me at this address, jerome.de-tychey@ledger.fr. So I work at Ledger, but I'm also the president of Ethereum France, nonprofit promoting Ethereum. And we organize a conference every first week of March. It's very not expensive as a conference. It's a very cheap conference, and we invite students and also professors, because we are very close at Ethereum France from the academia. So if you want to participate either as a speaker or if you want to send some students there, let me know. Do reach out, and we are going to try to organize it again next year, first week of March, 2 to the 4th, 2021. So previously on Ethereum. So when you ask someone what is the history of Ethereum, I think that's the best way to put it. You look at the average gas limit chart of the blockchain. So this one goes to July 2020, but the current chart is the same. It should just continue around the 10 million average gas limit. So Ethereum is a blockchain that acts as a cloud computing platform, sort of. Because every node of the network has an execution environment and can execute code. The complexity of the code executed is measured in gas, and at every block of the blockchain you have a limit of gas, so you cannot execute more than the limit of gas. And when you look at this, you see how the protocol performed. In the early days of Ethereum, we only had something around 2.4 million gas per block, if I remember correctly. And then we had the Homestead protocol fork, so an upgrade of the protocol called Homestead. And from now, after the Homestead protocol fork, the protocol was considered stable enough so that the gas limit could be raised in the blocks. So miners and validators on the blockchain Ethereum vote the gas limit up or down when they experience a jam of network, when we realize there's an attack or when we realize there's a problem. And that happened in June 2016 when Clément mentioned the DAO hack. So the DAO at this time was not really understood. We didn't understand what was going on the network, and so the miners at this time did lower the gas price. Did lower the average gas limit, so that the attack would be a little bit slowed down. In September 2016, we had the denial of service attack, because one of the execution of the virtual machine was badly priced, badly calibrated, thus letting attackers slow down the network. So as a reaction, the nodes tweaked the gas size, the gas limit, and got it down to slow down the attack. And later in the future, it was solved, and we got back to normal levels. And suddenly we had the ICO craze. So you all remember this because we are at a Red Tech conference. So I believe there's a lot of regulators in the audience. So this is when you really started to hear about blockchain and to get poked to do something, regulate this. So 2017, we had lots of ICOs, and lots of those ICOs did jam the network. Thus, there was pressure on the validators to up the gas limit so that more transactions could go through. And then in January, we had the event of the CryptoKitties, a new game, collectibles, launched on Ethereum, and that also jammed the network, so the gas limit rise again. And then what interests us now is the rise of DeFi and the introduction of many stablecoins, notably USDT, because it's one of the biggest ones now. And we're going to see what it meant for the network itself. So on the side, while this was happening, we had sort of something like the EVM franchise, like the Marvel franchise, but Ethereum virtual machine version. So the execution environment in an Ethereum node is the Ethereum virtual machine, or EVM for short. And many concurrent blockchain did start something based on the EVM or close to the EVM. So like VeChain, Tron, etc. Those on the left of the slide did use the Ethereum virtual machine. Some inspired themselves from the Ethereum virtual machine, like Rootstock or Binance Chain, and some did try to build something advertised as better or even better than the Ethereum virtual machine, like EOS and so on. And meanwhile, Ethereum was trying to continue its development because the initial target for Ethereum was to go from proof of work to proof of stake, like changing the consensus mechanism to have something that is more environmentally friendly, that is also a little faster to come to consensus. So that was back in 2014, and it was expected to be possible to implement properly very quickly. And the delusion was high because when they started to do research on how they could implement a proof of stake system that would fit their design choice and design goals, it turned out to be more complicated than expected. So to give the community an incentive to work intensively on developing the proof of stake system of Ethereum, inside the very protocol of Ethereum, there was a mechanism called the difficulty bomb, which was that at certain time in the blockchain, time in the future, the difficulty of finding a new block will go up in a very quick manner. So it's as a consequence on the average block time, the average time between each blocks, that goes up whenever the difficulty bomb kicks in, meaning that now we need to switch to something else. And as the development didn't go as expected, we had to postpone the difficulty bomb once in 2017, another time in 2019, and another time in 2020. And probably, well, we don't know, but probably we will maybe have to do it again in 2021 because the transition to proof of stake won't be complete. And if you want to read more about this, I suggest the post from Vlad Zamfir or Ben Eddington about this. So, which brings us to the year of 2020, a year full of DeFi. So Clément before me spoke a little bit about DeFi, so I'm not going to spend too much time about that. But I think the key takeaway is that if you look at all DeFi applications, it's roughly $11.3 billion that are locked in DeFi applications. So either sitting there because they are lended or sitting there because they are providing liquidity to a protocol and so on. And it's fair to say that everything is on Ethereum. So I might be biased as a president of Ethereum France saying that, but it's easy to look at. All the data are public, and you would see that even the biggest DeFi, or if it can be called DeFi, like Lightning Network on Bitcoin, has only 14.8 million USD, while there are 2.2 billion USD of Bitcoin that have been wrapped on Ethereum to benefit from the Ethereum applications. So I think the reason why we've seen this tremendous rise of DeFi on Ethereum is because previously we had the ICO craze that changed to an ICO boon. The miracle that ICO brought tons of existing assets asking to be put at work. And in the same time, we had powerful, well-audited standards and easy to use that were available for people to build stuff on and do interconnection and build connectivity with the different apps that they were building. So we like to use the term the money Legos. You can plug different protocols between one another, and you get this composability of the different smart contracts that you use. And it's interesting also to note that many decentralized exchanges have appeared, and such as Uniswap, SushiSwap, and 1inch, and so on. And they even managed to have larger volume than big centralized exchange like Coinbase. Of course, this had a consequence to the health of the network, to the usability of the network, because the DeFi craze led to some gas guzzling. So all of those applications are consuming lots of computing from the EVM, and therefore are consuming a lot of gas. And the way that the Ethereum network regulates himself is by asking people that want to cast a transaction to pay the gas price, to pick the fees that they want to spend, which is the gas price, for all the gas that their transaction will consume. And there is an auctioning mechanism that let people pick the gas price that they think the validators will accept. And if everybody wants to use the blockchain at the same time, then this auction led to having a gas price that can be quite high. So if you compute the average gas price over time, and you add also the price of Ethereum at this time, you get a sense of what cost an Ethereum transaction. And you can even convert it in USD at this time. So what we can see is that since 2020, the gas price has gone really high, and that now if Alice wants to transfer some Ether to Bob, Alice needs to pay something around 30 cents to do the transfer. But when it comes to for Alice to send Ether to Bob, those 3 cents cover for a simple transfer. When you want to participate to a decentralized exchange, it can be tenfold this price. So 10 times, 20 times. It's not unusual that you would pay $2 or $3, $4, $5, $6 to do a DeFi interaction. So I don't have in mind the classic cost, the usual cost to do a flash loan, but from what I can remember, it's around $10 or something. So if you know in the chat, put some comments on how much it costs to do a flash loan or something more extravagant. But the system is not broken. It is meant to work this way, and there are many services that have emerged, such as relayers, so services that will broadcast a transaction for you at a fixed cost or at a cost agreed in advance, or that will optimize the gas price if you're not in a hurry. And some of the services are gaining traction, like gas token, which allow to prepay the gas and to use this gas at later stage. And also technical improvements are upcoming, like the EIP 1559. And with Ethereum Friends, we will soon have a meetup on the EIP 1559 on explaining what it will do, and probably next week, Tuesday, I'll pass the link to Christophe if you're interested. So when Christophe asked me to do this presentation, he mentioned that he would love to know more about Ethereum 2 and what it will bring to the DeFi ecosystem and what is to expect and so on. So I started to work on the presentation, and suddenly yesterday, Ethereum 2 first real step into the mainnet appeared. So I would say that this presentation of this part is very timely. So Ethereum 2 is the next evolution of Ethereum. It's going to bring a sharded ecosystem, a sharded blockchain, actually, that you can think of as a hairbrush. So I believe you've all seen an airbrush before. You have this long wooden part. Sometimes it's plastic, but on this illustration, it's in wood. It's in wood, made of wood. And you have all the brush, the hair, that are plugged on one single line. So in this context, the beacon chain is the wooden part, and the brush are the shards of the chain. So the idea is that instead of having one single blockchain, so one single chain of blocks, you have this long beacon chain that act as a coordination layer, and you have multiple blockchains that are small brushes here that are interconnected with the beacon chain. So what that means is that you get scalability via adding new shards and have an efficient communication between the shards and an execution environment in each shard. So the first step of Ethereum is to start this beacon chain and consider the proof of work chain at the moment as the first shard, and to gradually add new shard on top of the beacon chain. So the current design is to have from 1 to 64 different shards, and in the future it can probably go higher than that. So where we are now, we are at phase 0, the beacon chain. So we were expecting the deployment of the deposit contract on the mainnet. So the deposit contract will be the first step of deployment of the beacon chain, because it will let people deposit Ether on the deposit contract, hence the name deposit contract. And the Ether deposited on this deposit contract will be used as proof of stake on the beacon chain. So that was done yesterday, and that's a pretty big event for the whole community, since we've been waiting that for almost 3 years now. And it's expected that the beacon chain itself will soon start. Inside the deposit contract, there is a date, that is the date of the launch of the beacon chain. So the beacon chain should start on December 1st if enough people have deposited on the deposit contract. So that's part of the design goal of design choice of Ethereum, to have a certain number of validators. So we are going to see what it means to be a validator, but in order for the beacon chain to start on the 1st of December, we will also need to have enough people that have deposited. After this, we will start to launch the first shards of the Ethereum 2, and then we will plug an execution engine on each shard, so that you can have a smart contract running on each shard. And as I was saying, this is what happened yesterday. The deposit contract was deployed. It needs to reach a deposit of 524,288 ETH in the deposit contract. So that is 16,384 validators. This number is considered sufficiently high for the blockchain system, the blockchain proof of work system, to be sufficiently decentralized and generate enough activity to fit the design choices, actually. And what we observed is that since yesterday, already 20K ETH has been deposited on the contract. So at this rate, we should be done in 26 days. So fingers crossed, we'll get there. And in 26 days, it will be before the 1st of December. So we will be all set for the launch of Ethereum the 1st of December. So if you want to participate to Ethereum 2, that's possible. Of course, the contract is deployed now. So what you need is to do a deposit of 32 Ether. 32 Ether basically buy you a ticket as a validator. You are a validator if you deposit 32 Ether. No more, no less. If you want to have 2 validator tickets, you need to deposit 64. The innovation here is that you need to use specific cryptographic keys to do that, because Ethereum 2 also upgrade the signature scheme that were used on Ethereum. So we switched to a new type of signature called BLS. And to do that, you need to find the address of the contract. So you get this address of the contract here. You need to gather 32 ETH, and you need to compute a couple of things that will be used by your validator. So when you will be doing proof of stake on Ethereum 2, you will have your withdrawal credential, so the key that you can withdraw your proceeds to when you want to withdraw. You will need to say what keys you'll be using as a validator, so the key that you will use to sign the blocks that will be produced by your node. And you need to do some checksums and send that in a transaction. So once you've done that, the deposit contract register your 32 ETH and your deposit. And whenever the beacon chain will be running, you will be able to turn on your validator node and put your 32 ETH at work, or your 64 if you've done 2 deposits. So there are things to consider before doing that. You do a transfer of your Ether, so your Ether are now locked on the deposit contract, and they won't be able to move. So that's, you have to accept that your Ether will be locked on the Ethereum 2 chain until further notice. So there's no coming back. Once you've done the deposit, all you can do is stop staking, but you cannot stop staking and withdraw the Ether, at least in the short run. And yeah, so if you want to do that, that's completely possible. Us at Ledger, we've developed integration on our hardware, so you can use your Ledger Nano X at the moment, S soon, to do this kind of computation of keys and continue to secure your crypto in our hardware. But there are many other ways to do that. I'm just giving you a shameless commercial intercut about what we're doing at Ledger right now. And you need to run your own node. So the whole design of Ethereum 2 is to make it complicated for people to actually delegate their staking. That means that compared to other proof of stake like EOS or Tezos, delegating is complicated. The community is more pushing people to be their own validator. But it's seriously easy. I've onboarded a couple of people that had no technical background to do exactly that. And here you see a screenshot of my test validator that we're running in May. And it's still running right now, actually in this very room in my kitchen with the validator running. So yeah, it can run on a Raspberry Pi 4. So a consumer grade computer can very well run their own node. And when you take into consideration that for some institutions that want to use blockchain, the fact that other people can create block and that you don't know if you want to let a mining pool in an unknown country mine your transaction, being able to run your own node is, I think, an interesting value proposition as well. So why you should do that, and that brings us to DeFi, is that you get the reward. Like, since you are committing 32 ETH and you are bringing security and finality to the blockchain, you get rewarded by that. So it changes the money policy of the monetary policy of Ethereum. It will do a proof of work reward at first, and in the same time proof of stake reward at the same time. But in the short run, there won't be mining reward left, and it will all be proof of stake reward. So you should be interested if you want to put your Ether at work, because if you are part of the first batch of validators, and the number of validators will grow over time and potentially will also diminish when people decide to stop validating, you can enjoy an average an average return of close to 21.6%. So that's quite interesting to be early in this game. So here we are. We did a multi-client testnet for July, August, September. October, November, we continued that, and we did some tryouts of launch of the Beacon chain. And now the deposit contract is live. Next step, potentially July. You'll see sharp chains, but the close future, the next step, I think, is mostly the launch of the Beacon chain itself, the 1st of December, hopefully. Oops. So what's in it for DeFi? Well, in the short term, you can expect the lending rates of Ether to rise, because Ether are going to be locked in this deposit contract, and potentially a significant amount of Ether will be locked in this contract. So it will diminish the number of ETH available on centralized exchange and also on decentralized exchange. Centralized exchange will be at an interesting spot, because they are most of them when they list a coin that is stakeable, they also delegate their coins and they offer staking rewards to their users. So centralized exchange will be a situation where they will have to decide either to accept that some of their users will withdraw ETH and stake those ETH themselves, or they will propose the service for the users. So that could mean that if you are using Coinbase or Kraken or CoinHouse or whatever, CoinHouse will tell you like, hey, you have more than 32 ETH, or you have a couple of ETH. Do you want to put that with us? We will stake this for you, but your Ether won't be possible. It will be possible for you to withdraw your Ether since they are locked on the Ethereum 2, or maybe I'll let you withdraw it but with a cut, and then you go back to having fractional reserve of some sort at centralized exchange. We will certainly see the emergence of staking pools. One of them is Rocket Pool that is already out of the wood. Similar to what we've seen with proof of work, we will have Ethereum 2 staking pools. Since those staking pools can emit tokens, that means we will have wrapped Ethereum 2 on Ethereum. So you will have technically derivatives of Ethereum 2 living on Ethereum. And since those derivatives of Ethereum 2 get a reward with the staking rewards, that means that we have a return rate derivative also. In the midterm, the new standard, the new cryptographic standard will certainly lead to some innovations since BLS is good for threshold signatures. So I'm sure it will find an application in DeFi. And in the long term, the design choices of Ethereum should lead to lots of scalability and also cross-chart communication. So I hope that DeFi will be able to pick this up and maybe bring us other book-based exchanges on Ethereum. But the question will be like, will institutional money or institutional liquidity flow to those other book-based exchanges? But the decentralized miner. So I don't know if they would require to have an MTF license to run another book-based exchange on Ethereum. It's a separate question. And fixed rate borrowing or lending, it's hard to do now on Ethereum because you need to have lots of rebalancing of the portfolio. So perhaps with more scalability, we will have those kind of instruments available on Ethereum as well. And yeah, that's it for me. So I'm happy to take questions and answer things that wasn't clear in my presentation if you have some questions.
Okay, Jerome. Thank you very much for your presentation. It's very interesting to have the up-to-date development concerning Ethereum. So we try to have some questions from the floor. Are some participants wants to ask some questions to Jerome? There are no. Okay, so Bruno Schneider, Bruno, do you want to ask your question? You can open your.
No, okay. So if two coexisting, if one coexisting, if two always, always until transition is done. So there are currently several scenarios that are discussed on how they should migrate. So currently, one of the scenarios is that there will be a migration between charts. So as a smart contract deployer, you can choose to upgrade your contract to somewhere else and have this contract be deployed on another shard. Typically, what we can expect as a very bootstrapping of the migration is having token bridges. So if you simply use the ERC20 and the core of the value is sitting in ERC20 tokens or ERC721 tokens, so building those bridges between different shards should be quite easy, notably because lots of groundwork have been done between permission chain and public chains, like having bridges to allow cross chain communication. So I expect that pretty soon after we get some shards, we will have a bridge that will let you transition your ERC20 to another shard. And once all the ERC20 have departed from the proof of work chain to be in several different shards, the Ethereum 1 chain should not be producing blocks or should not be used anymore.
Okay. Other question? So now, may I ask you some question concerning the development of Ethereum 2? So to understand what you have done, you migrate from proof of work to proof of stake. It is
Yes.
mainly that's a big difference between Ethereum 1 and Ethereum 2.
Yeah.
Is it true? Okay. So now concerning some specificity of the blockchain, so you say very quickly something about the Lightning Network. So the fact that do you have this problem in mind when you develop Ethereum 2, or is it for the second step to introduce the Lightning Network?
Okay, so I mentioned Lightning Network when I mentioned DeFi to say that nearly all the DeFi activities on Ethereum, and even the only not Ethereum-based DeFi application can be Lightning Network, as it's an application for payment on Bitcoin. And even Lightning Network has very little asset under management. So that fueled the argument that most of the DeFi is happening on Ethereum, and the only important DeFi project that is happening on Ethereum only has 14 million, which is very low compared to other projects, similar projects. But Lightning Network is a layer 2 solution that lets you very almost instantaneously transfer Bitcoin from one wallet to another, as long as you accept some constraint due to Lightning Network. And Ethereum is indeed very intensively looking at layer 2 solutions based on Ethereum. And the most promising ones are zero knowledge proof based. And it turns out that if you look at the design of Ethereum 2 as a sharded chain, the way it's meant to work is a little like the zero knowledge rollups that we are developing on the layer 2 side of Ethereum. So it means that the shard itself has a state, where the state represents all the different accounts that are living in these shards and what is inside all those accounts. When you hash all that together, you have a state root of what's happening in this shard, and the beacon chain itself only saves the state roots of all shards. So it works a little bit as a rollup, or as a Lightning Network in some way is designed, that you let people interact with each other on the shard in a very instantaneous manner, close to instantaneous manner. And when you want to reconcile between the shards, because you have a cross-shard transfer, or you need to have the transfer of some ether between the beacon chain and the shard, you have a specific new proof that you need to bring to the beacon chain, and in the end to the shard. And those scaling technique are not exclusive. I really think that we will have a very good implementation of those scalability techniques on Ethereum before we get the full-fledged of Ethereum 2. So that's two ways of scaling the applications that are being researched all together.
Okay. Yes, this is interesting. So, other question from the participant? No? I have another technical question concerning, are you interested in the development of Ethereum 2 to look at the question of interoperability between the blockchain?
You mean using Ethereum 2 to interact with other blockchains?
Yeah.
So Ethereum 2 itself won't have anything specific to other blockchains. Like blockchain bridges, smart, whether are usually smart. Well, you have concretely two ways of doing a bridge between different blockchains. You either do it in a centralized manner, where you have a single party or a trustee that will receive the funds on one chain and release the fund on the other chain. So that's one approach. And the other approach is to try to do it trustlessly. And usually what you do is you create a smart contract on one chain, you create a smart contract on the other chain, and you bring a proof from one chain to another, saying that you have indeed deposited what you say you have deposited, and you make the token, respective token, appear from one side to another. So that is doable already on Ethereum. Well, if you want to make different kind of Ethereum communicate with each other, that's usually quite simple. When you want to make Ethereum discuss with Bitcoin, or Bitcoin discuss with any other chain, you need to make sure that at least the signature scheme of both chains are supported on each chains. Otherwise, you will need to have some form of centralization. So in Ethereum 2 itself, you have the new signature scheme, that is BLS, and BLS has some advantage that can be probably leveraged to build better bridges. So that's one thing. And maybe the other thing is that you also have in the design goals of Ethereum to support WebAssembly as a virtual machine in the future for Ethereum 2. So the next development is 2022 of the WebAssembly virtual machine. And technically speaking, the WebAssembly virtual machine should be flexible enough to seamlessly import a new signature scheme from other chains and have those signatures verified on Ethereum 2. So indeed, you have a couple of arguments to say that cross-blockchain communication will certainly be facilitated with Ethereum 2. Yeah, that's right. I mean, we can expect that more coins will be wrapped on Ethereum with Ethereum 2.
Okay, so this is for the mid or the long term.
Yeah. Well, there are if there is a huge urge for wrapping a new asset on Ethereum, and you don't have the specific signature scheme to do it properly on Ethereum, and you don't want to use a centralized party and so on, the way to go so far has been to create pre-compiles. So to write the signature scheme verification in Python if you are using a Python client, in Go if you are using a Go client, and create an EIP and tell people that all the nodes, all the clients should implement this EIP. So there is a pre-compiled contract that do all the signatures verification, and that is being added as a patch to the nodes. That's what we've done for other signature schemes so far, but WebAssembly would give the flexibility that we require to do it without EIPs. Okay,
thank you very much. Do we have some questions from the audience? No? Christophe, may I ask a last question to Jerome? Yeah? Okay. Jerome, I have now a philosophical question.
We only have some time.
You said that Ethereum platform is a platform where you have nearly all the DeFi application.
At the moment, yes.
At the moment. So do you think that it could be a problem concerning the fact that all the concentration of the DeFi is Ethereum or use your platform? What do you think about that? Because okay, you know, it's more philosophical than technological, but I think it is important.
Yeah. So I mean, when we were trying to contemplate what Ethereum would be in the early days, the one thing that popped up quite often was Ethereum is going to be a giant, the world's decentralized clearinghouse. It's going to be a giant decentralized clearinghouse, trustless, censorship resistant, and so on. So today we have lots of tokens, lots of things being wrapped on it. You have synthetic assets that are taking off. You have different financial primitives that are built on top of it. It's easy to try and to build on top of, and so on. So it's gaining a lot of traction and a lot of network effects. And so maybe the future will prove me wrong, but there is a good chance that other platforms that have tried to copy the same path and couldn't find their ICO boon or build the proper money Legos, at some point people are just going to say like, well, this is where all the activity is going, so let's move some institutional activity to that. And once that happens, maybe it will be like the internet versus the Minitel. Like you only get this. Like okay, this is the de facto standard. From that, should we have a fear about that? Is there a specific risk about that, or is it taking that out of the initial philosophy of it's open, it's decentralized, it's everyone, and so on? Well, that's kind of complicated to answer. My personal definition of decentralization in a blockchain context would be that the system is decentralized or is sufficiently open if in order to become a validator, in order to participate to the consensus, being a validator requires a relatively low investment in time and capital. And this relatively low investment today is 32 Ether, which is close to 1 Bitcoin. So like, if you were to say tomorrow, I want to open an investment fund, or I want to open a fintech, and I need to use Ethereum, but I need to be my own validator because of a regulatory reason. Here's the price of the license. The license will cost you 32 Ether. And I think so far that's fine. And if you don't have the 32 Ether, you can always use a custodian that has those 32 Ether and is properly regulated.
Okay.
I don't know. I may be too euphoric right now to philosophy, but it's we are seeing exciting development everywhere in the blockchain space, not only Ethereum. So I don't know. And to answer Bruno, 1 Bitcoin equals stable price. We'll see. You could have 8,000 Ether when Ether was started, because Ethereum was started with an ICO where you participated in Bitcoin. So now 1 Bitcoin is only 32 Ether. So yeah, no, I'm not giving any financial advice, but do your own research and try it out. It's the problem with blockchain is that it's very interesting to see what's happening, to hear the news, to read those exciting hacks, those exciting new DeFi applications. But there's no better way to understand blockchain than to experiment it. And with 10, 20 euros, you buy some crypto and you try the application yourself, and you'll figure out that it's not that hard, and it's a very interesting new development.
Jerome, do you want to say something else? Sorry.
No, I was responding in the chat. Jay Neve that asked me may help to integrate is Ledger able to help integrate the DeFi ecosystem under governance of central bank? So So Ledger is a company I'm working for, and we create hardware wallets for the retail, and we also create safe to store cryptographic keys for the B2B. So we have a decentralized, we have centralized exchanges, traditional banks, traditional institutions in our client base, and we participate to CBDC experimentations here and there in the world. Publicly, we participate to the BDF Banque de France experimentation along with Société Générale Forge. And to answer your question, yes, we are very able to participate to anything that would try to make DeFi more regulatorily friendly or help institutions jump in the space. That's our core business, basically. So reach out if you want to work on something with us, definitely.